Hi, good morning, John here for a Friday. Probably Saturday by the time you see this. As you know, my channel is about everything art. I haven't really broached into oils, but I've broached into most other things, and every now and then I bring in different mediums and, you know, teach you about them as much as I can. And I hope that what I say helps. But it's been quite a while, and I've been known for oil pastels, but it's been quite a while since I've done an oil pastel review. Probably a few weeks now, so I thought we'd do another one today. So the pastels I'm going to review today are these ones. These are the Sunny or Sunny oil pastels. Now, they make quite a bold claim on the package. They say they are top level oil pastels. That is a massive claim when you consider what oil pastels are out there and what brands are out there. When you see something like Sunny, which isn't that well known, you have to question that. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a review on that, and hopefully I'll help you and guide you whether you want to buy them or not. I have a couple of packets of these, and I think the first thing you'll notice is that aren't they incredibly similar to the Pastels Expressionist in their look? With the box, I mean. They are 10mm by 71mm. It's kind of normal, really. And they say they comply with the Euro Toy Safety Standard of EN71. I have no idea what that means, but I would imagine it means that they're safe for children. However, it does say down here not suitable for children under 36 months. So I suppose that does tell you everything you need to know. And it does say meets the performance standard, conforms to ASTM D4236. And that basically means, as my friend Angie told me, that they conform to certain standards so that they can be sold. There are some of these pastels that have that ASTM that do point out things about light fastness, but they're very few and far between. But it just means that they can be sold and that they're safe. So, as I said, they look like the Pastels, but they are Sunny or Sunny. Sunny, I would imagine, because it looks like a double N and not a single N. So on the back, it says bright, vivid colours, good light fastness. So, you know, it's making a claim. It's not really committing itself, is it? Let's be honest about that. So they're going to last a while, I would imagine, by the sound of that. But as for hundreds of years, probably not. They say they're suitable for a variety of surfaces. That's all normal. Easy to colour. Range of portrait, of landscape, still life, abstract, all that sort of stuff. All the normal things. Stenciling, scratching, blending, dotting provides unlimited colour possibilities to extend. All the normal things. It says that the features are bright, vivid colours, excellent fastness. So it goes from good light fastness to excellent light fastness. So, you know, it's not really being very certain of itself, is it? It's making claims that you're quite within your rights to challenge. Unique technology and advanced applications, well, that's just posh words, isn't it, for just saying you can stencil, scratch, blend and dot. Limited possibilities. Just says everything that this has said again, but makes it a bit bolder, as in it says excellent light fastness. There is a date on here. I would imagine that's the manufacture date. And it's 24th of the 1st, 2022. I can't imagine that is a sell-by date or a best before date. It's the first time I've really seen a date on them, but I've never really looked before, if I'm being honest. So let's have a look at the actual pastel, shall we? Excellent fine quality raw material in pigment. Oh, extra claims. Right, so here we are. Here's the oil pastels. I've used this set very briefly, probably just to do colour swatches and what have you. So the first thing I did notice is that there is a slight smell, and they do remind you of the Pentel, but they are nowhere near as bad as the Pentel. And that said, they also remind me of the Pentel in their colour range. I like this colour range. It's a really good colour range. I don't like the gold and silver, but that's normal for me. A couple of colours look as if they're a bit vibrant, but you know, other people would use them in their art, whereas I wouldn't, because I do generally landscapes. But I can see how they can be very useful. It has a moderately good selection of blues, I'd say. I think it could do with a lighter blue, but then we are only talking about 50 colours, so it's hard to get everything in. Not too bad. I mean, you can mix these colours in with a bit of white if that's the way you want it to go. But I must say that I do like this set of greens. This green and this green in particular, and that green there, are really quite nice. And this green here, they're sort of olive type greens. And I do like this colour here, kind of an umber colour. And we have a dark brown here, and a really good range, in my opinion, for such a small set, of earth tones and a couple of greys. So on the whole, I'd say that that's a really good colour range for just a 50 colour set, and I think you could get most of what you wanted from that. So let's have a look at one of the pastels, shall we, and see what it says on the pastel itself. So it says extra fine quality, raw material and pigment, same as before, made in China, and it says top level oil pastel, and that is pretty much all it says. There's nothing about light fastness. I think people fixate a bit much on light fastness, especially where oil pastels are concerned, if I'm being perfectly honest, because in my opinion, if anybody's going to hang their paintings in full view of sun, well, they kind of deserve to get their paintings bleached out, because what a silly thing to do in the first place. Yeah, not bad, not bad. The packaging is pretty standard cardboard box. I'm seeing nothing that tells me they're top level at the moment, but I'm seeing things that would tell me that they could be quite nice. Now today is quite a warm day in my studio, so it's not extra hot, so these are probably going to be a bit softer than normal. So let's have a look at the blending, shall we? I'll get my favourite paper. Now, as usual, let's go for the purples. Right. Right, they are reasonably soft. I have tried these once before and they didn't feel quite as soft as this at the time, but then, like I said, it is a bit warmer. That particular purple seems a bit semi-transparent. I'm going to go for a red now. Yeah, not too bad. They feel quite nice. They feel as if they would take quite a bit of work. As I went over that part there, they didn't seem as if they were going to layer over that purple very well, but they do feel like they're blending in. There's a bit of flakiness, but not too bad. Now I'm going to go for a bright yellow. So we've had a random assortment of colours for this. I wouldn't expect them to layer very well in such a warm day anyway. Now they don't look too bad. I would suspect if there was mention of it, they would probably call them opaque, but I'm not going to tell you they're opaque because I can still see the paper through them. But I think as you layered them up, give them a few days to dry off a bit, and then layer them up, they would probably become more opaque. So I'm blending them with the cotton bud now, and The yellow doesn't feel too bad, it's smoothing out quite nicely. I have tried these before, and when I tried them at that particular point in time, I wasn't that impressed. But it was a different day. Yeah, they're not blending too bad. Not at all. I'm certainly a bit more pleased with them this time than what I was last time. So I'll turn the cotton bud as we come into the yellow so I don't get the red all the way down. So yeah, that's not bad. But again, it is quite a nice warm day. The purple is not fantastic in my opinion. That seems to be clumping up a bit, whereas the red and the yellow didn't. And it seems quite transparent. Well, they're blending. Purple's not as good as the red and the yellow. Top level, definitely not. Moderate level, possibly. So you can see that you've got quite a nice blend going on there. Now let's just try another colour. Let's just try this light blue, shall we? Again, that feels nice and soft. There's a touch of flakiness, not much, nothing worth talking about. And that's blending quite nice as well. I think maybe that purple is partly perhaps because of the pigment in it. Okay, it's one of those pastels where you're really not quite sure. I would say almost for definite you could produce a good picture with this. I would say almost for definite you'd need them quite soft on a warm day, because I have tried them on a colder day and they didn't blend very well whatsoever. The colours are quite vibrant, I think you'll say. I'm actually quite impressed with these colours. I'm just going to try a green while I'm at it. Why not? Oh yeah, it's a lovely green, and that's layering over quite well. I think, like most pastels, the darker colours will layer over better than the lighter colours, obviously. I'd say they were probably semi-transparent. That one feels a bit firmer. So I'm not going to tell you they're inconsistent, because I wouldn't say that, but I'd say they were dependent on the colour you're using. That's a lovely green though, I have to say. So yeah, they will blend out. Right, let's just try the pilling. This is where things will start to tell. Right. Well, I think as long as you don't press too hard, the pilling will be minimal, but the purple in this case is not working very well. Might be because I'm starting there and putting too much pressure on, but the red, the yellow, the blue and the green, they seem to have done quite well. So let's just put a little bit less pressure on that. Yeah, the purple is not great. I don't know what's wrong with that purple, but the rest don't seem too bad. Yeah, not bad. I'm starting to make a mess now, as you do. Right, there you go. You've seen what the top level, allegedly, oil pastels are like. They're not top level, but they're actually better than things like the Pastels. Probably as good as the Expressionist. And the colour range is nice. The purple, I don't know what's wrong with that purple. Perhaps it's just one of those things. One thing I have noticed, and that was after I'd done all the blending and what have you, is that there's some greasiness on the lid. Now, it's probably because they've got warm, and I haven't actually got the sheet of paper in there that would protect them. I think there was a piece of greaseproof paper, if I remember rightly. So, you know, they could go too far, I expect, but it is really quite a warm day here today. and they've held up quite well. I think you'll be quite pleased. So that's another oil pastel off the list. Not the worst, by far not the worst. I really believed that they were going to be very poor, and that's based on the fact that I used them a while back and it was on a colder day and they didn't blend very well at all. So I think when you get them a bit warmer, these are going to work okay. I don't think you would be disappointed with them for the price that you would pay. I think they're probably generally around about 10 to 15 or 16 pounds in English money. So that's not too bad. It's not the greatest, but it's not too bad at all. They are not as good as things like the Arteco. They are definitely nowhere near the Caran d'Ache, the Hawans or the Senneliers. But they are equally as good as things like, well, in fact better than things like the Pastels. So you're kind of talking like probably Crepas Expressionist area. So a kind of medium pastel. Not the best, not the worst. So what am I going to give them pointage wise? This is just my opinion. I'm going to say, if it was based on the purple, probably a 3. But because there's obviously other colours that I've tried deliberately to see what the other colours were like, I'm going to say maybe a 5, maybe a 6. You know, they're not great, but they're going to do what you want and they're going to give you a really good starting point, in my opinion. I hope you enjoyed that review. I hope that's given you something to look at. They're well worth a try. Get them warm and you'll produce a nice picture. On the right paper, of course. All these things matter. So until next time, please have a great day, a great week and a great year, and please be kind. Bye for now.